We in this thing.
This is part 3.
This is part 3 of this series. I was just talking to Sean this morning at church, and he was like, "Man, we were almost late to church because I was listening to part 2." He's like, "I'm only 20 minutes in, man, and it was hitting." And he said, and then he goes, "I had that book, and I gave it away to somebody, and then, when I saw it, I'm like, I know that book." Oh,
bruh.
And I was like, "You gonna have to get that money. Hey, man, can I get that back?" I was just letting you borrow it.
I didn't say half.
Yeah.
Is that what I said? I didn't say half. I didn't say that.
You gotta get your ears checked.
You got my words twisted.
Yeah.
That's crazy. There's no way I would give away this book. I mean, we gave away 2, but we bought those for the purpose of giving them away. But like even after you're done with it, like we finished it a while ago, but I find myself like going back to just
I'm definitely gonna reread it.
This is life changing, bro.
Yeah, man. So yeah, guys, if you are just joining us in this series, we are going through a book.
Yep.
We're not reviewing it, but we're just kind of
like our thoughts on
this book. It's called Live No Lies. It's by John Mark Comer, JMC. Fantastic writer. He's a pastor and preacher in Portland, Oregon. And so the first 2, this is a 3-part book. Mm-hmm. It's about the 3 enemies of the soul, the 3 things that sabotage the soul, which are the devil, the flesh, and the world. We've already done an episode on the devil, an episode on the flesh, and now we're doing the last part of this, which is on the world.
Man.
So this should be a good conversation, man. Just even going back and reading some of the stuff I highlighted, I was just like, dang, bro. And then just like even recent events and things that I've been learning and things like that. It's wild how much all this stuff comes together, and you can just see it.
I was just talking to Jess. No, I was talking to y'all after TG.
Oh yeah.
And I was telling how like anytime like you prepare a sermon, sometimes you'll prepare for the sermon, and then when the sermon is over, it may not hit right in that moment, but like throughout the time, throughout the week, throughout the month, the year, whatever you learned in that preparation time is still utilized. And I think that's what this book has done for me. Like, though I've read it, we did it, and why did we read this book again? I think I was
like, bro, you need to read this book.
Yeah, because I'm like, why did we do this for the podcast?
No,
we didn't do this for the podcast.
I just got the book because I had read one of his previous books, Garden City,
which I still haven't read.
Which is incredible. Highly recommend it. And then my wife is slowly reading the book after Garden City, which is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which Will told you about.
Which I'm reading, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and so I guys, I'm a nerd. All I do is listen to podcasts and watch podcasts. And so I saw John Mark talking on Carey Nieuwhof's podcast about the book.
Yeah, the Carey Nieuwhof guy.
And don't disrespect my boy, even though I did that earlier. No, Carey Nieuwhof is dope. I love that guy.
He's a great leader of leaders.
But John was talking to him about this book. It was right before it was coming out. And I was like, everything he was saying, I was like, I need this book. I need to read this. Because it's so different from the other books. Right?
Oh, yeah.
The other ones are like, how to kind of help yourself and change some things. This one is like a totally different thing. It's just totally different. It's almost like, is this the same author? Like, I mean, the stuff he is going in on. And then, like I've said before, he released a podcast simultaneously with the release of the book. It's like a 6 or 7 part podcast where he interviews different people that helped him, that contributed the ideas that went into the book. And so each episode he talks with a different person about what they talked about. And it is just, I'm just like, bro, it's crazy.
It's great information, but it's like practical.
Yes, it
you
is.
You actually use it.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually get to see, like, when he talks, even what the conversation we're going to get into today, just talking about the world. And when you start to see, dang, like, we live in this, and he's giving you a solution of, like, number one, how to identify it, and then, like, how to keep yourself from it. Like, certain things in this life are going to be so enticing and look so great, but this book helps you to identify, that's forbidden fruit. Let's go over here. Let's go do something else.
And the book is just, it's not the end all be all. It doesn't solve all your problems. It's just like the beginning of a journey that
That's good.
I think everybody should be going on. We're all on this journey with Jesus, if you're a follower of Jesus, obviously, which I assume you are. If you're listening to this podcast, this is not necessarily a podcast for non-believers, but we encourage y'all to come
Absolutely.
along. But especially if you call yourself a follower of Jesus, like we're all on this journey, and man, we're navigating a path that is much older than us.
True.
That millions of people have walked through the ages, and we are in our own section of it, in our own time, and have our own challenges. And it's amazing how many things are new, but are also not new that we're facing.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
True. Like it looks new on the surface, but
Yeah.
when you get to the root of the issue.
There's definitely some things that we are the first people in the history of mankind to face these things. And the combination of these things, like this technology and different things like that. And so today's topic is the world.
Yeah, let's get into it.
And so first thing we should do is define it. Okay, so we've been doing on this series.
Yes, sir.
So I have in my notes 203 to 205. So, the world. The systems of practices and standards associated with secular society. That's a very scientific definition. And I have here, in this world, man reigns supreme. God is either non-existent or unconcerned. Man can attain his own salvation. And the world is more than just no God, like as an N-O, no God. It is anti-God.
Right.
It is against God. It's not just like, oh, there's, you don't know. It's like, even if there is,
we're making sure we
F
cut him
that
down.
dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's the feel I get.
And so the world is concerned with universal pursuit of immediate gratification.
Good Lord.
Hedonic titillation, visceral crudeness, distraction, promoting consumption, appetite, detachment, superficially self-maximizing, socially destructive behaviors dominate society.
Goodness.
The world is what happens when a lot of people give in to their flesh, which we talked about previously. It's what happens when a lot of people give in to their flesh, and it becomes normalized. That's a big key I want everybody to focus on, is that the world has normalized sin and giving into our desires.
That's so true.
Rebellion against God and redefinition of good and evil, right? The world is an atmosphere, a mood, an airborne emotional pollutant we inhale every day. I don't know where he gets this language from, but it's wild.
Even the Dallas Willard's quote when he says, our culture, or what the world is our culture and society and social practices that are under the control of Satan, thus opposed to God.
I like that.
It's literally everything anti-God. Like, if God is for it, like, we want to change it, corrupt it, turn it into something different. We don't want anything of God.
It's literally like God becomes the bad guy.
Yeah, he's the villain.
Yeah.
And it's
He's
all
trying to stop us from doing what we want to do.
Yeah, which is funny because like that's what actually saves you. Stopping you from doing what you want to do is what saves your life.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So again, going through the whole thing, the devil has deceitful ideas that play to our disordered desires. That's the flesh. That are normalized in a sinful society. That's the world. So this is the progression of the book. And just the progression of the devil's tactics against us, against God.
And it's funny, that mug does not change.
No,
Like,
he just keeps updating it.
It's just like it looks different, but it's the same exact steps. It's like step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. And it happens every single time. And we fall prey to it, even though most people don't know, I'm gonna be honest.
That's the thing.
Most people don't know his tactic.
Yeah.
It's almost because it's like too subtle. It's too simple. Like when you think about
It's like, no, he's got to come. That is such a good point, is that we're so busy looking for this like overtly demonic, like
Like we're looking for the red dude with the horns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking for like you got 666 tatted on your forehead, and you got demon sneakers. I remember when Lil Nas X came out with the devil shoes and stuff. People are like expecting that is It's like no, the devil's way smarter than that.
Oh my gosh, he's been here for millennia, bro.
He's not gonna be that open. That'd be too easy to go against.
Yeah,
no, most people are gonna be like, yeah, I want
even
more
people
of that.
who are not Christian. Gonna be like, well, that's too far.
I'm staying away from that.
That's just too
literal
far.
human blood in the bottom of the shoe. I'm staying away from that. Most humans aren't gonna fall for that. But
that's subtlety,
he's a lot smarter than that. He's gonna use stuff that we don't even know is there. Like you said, like it says here, we breathe it in. It's just all around it. We don't even know we're in it half the time.
That's wild, man. They I probably shouldn't say this, but
well, here it comes.
But I was just like, man, like the devil is in and out. It's got 3 options. It's the same options, but you got to line out the door for it though. Like you got this huge like.
Why weren't you gonna say that? That was good.
Because I didn't want to in and out. I love it. Like, yeah. That's my place.
I'll definitely be there.
But like that simple, like and they're not changing it. They're not gonna like.
Bro, that is such a good.
It's crazy. Everybody wants it.
Door.
Like lined up, waiting to live this lie.
Woo.
Bruh.
Come on.
So we just gotta be mindful, man. We think about the world. Just it's already evil. I think that's one of the things. Like, this is for all my Christians out there, especially my zealots. Our job is not to change the world. Like it's just not going to. Like the end of the world is coming, and it has to be restarted. We're not gonna be able to save what is here, and then like, okay, we're gonna win the world for Jesus, win this country for Jesus. Like, we don't win territory. We win people. That's the aim. Look to your neighbor. Don't look to, I want to save the world. How about the guy next door? How about the person down the street who are in a world that hates God and they don't even know it?
Yeah, I think, along those lines, like we are, as Paul says, in the ministry of reconciliation, reconciling people back to God. But we can redeem certain parts of culture and things like that. We are called to be salt.
True.
Now, salt is supposed to preserve. Now, what that means is that it slows down the decay. It doesn't stop it. It doesn't reverse it. It just slows it down. Yes. It's still decaying. This world is still rotting and dying.
Yes.
We can just slow it down a little bit.
That's good.
Okay, that's all we can hope for.
Which is a good thing. Like,
yes,
you get to prepare, or you get to slow down the progression of the decay, which means it gives people more time to experience God. Yes.
Encounter Him. Yeah.
So definitely seek that out, but don't seek to save the world.
Yeah, man. I mean,
we're not the Justice League.
It's definitely not that. I'd much rather be Marvel, but we're not them either.
We're not the Avengers.
Yeah, man. And then the thing you said about the country, like, that's so funny. Because I'm unfortunately like that. That's the rise of the whole Christian nationalism thing, and it's like we got to get this country back. This is God's country. No, it's not, guys. Sorry.
And what you're looking to do is not what God wants you to do either.
No, this is not Israel. We're not the people of Israel.
Which is I find this very
Babylon at best.
I find it funny that nationalists are Christian nationalists are looking to force everyone to become Christian. Like, which is not even God's MO. Yeah, like if he could, he's not forcing.
He could if he wanted to.
He's like, all right, we're all believers now.
No free will.
But he's like, no, I want them to choose. But then you're trying to limit people's choices. Like, as much as I'm like, dang, like, you're presenting some terrible choices, world. These are absolutely terrible choices.
Wild.
But at the same time, like, okay, if God gave you the freedom to do so, then go ahead and help. God help me to teach people how to choose, like how to make the right choice.
Yeah, man. So a couple verses that John Mark
highlighted in the book.
Highlights here. John 17, 15 through 18.
It's one of my favorite scriptures.
Just John 17 in general is my favorite. Jesus' high priestly prayer.
Yeah.
Jesus is praying and he says, "My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, the disciples, my disciples, but that you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. So, you know, we cannot have a response because there's a when you say that, you know, we can't save the world essentially. Well, there's like this hopelessness. Okay, well then we should just
chill.
Leave. We should just leave them to themselves. Forget the world. Let them just die. We'll be over here. And that was the thing. That was where you get the monastic movement. Where you have all the monasteries.
Right.
People just become monks and
they just
detach
leave
from the world. Say, forget y'all. Y'all go ahead and die. We're gonna be over here in the desert, over here doing our thing.
Yeah.
And that's not what Jesus is saying here. Unfortunately, nothing wrong with the monastic movement. They did some cool stuff. Did some great things.
Taught us a lot of stuff.
But that is not what we are called to. We are called to go in. Jesus is sending us into the world. So we are still here. We're still in it. We just don't want to be of it. Right?
Yeah. What's the difference?
Man, so, I mean, we literally are just practically physically here. Number one, we work jobs. We interact. We go to the store. We go to the movies. We are here. We are interacting in a world where most people we are around do not follow Jesus, aren't believers of Jesus, right? But we're not of the world in the sense where we are on a different path, a different trajectory. We are citizens of a different kingdom. And so there are values and standards that we are submitted to that the world is not, that they're even against.
Right.
And so there are things that we're not going to do, places we're not going to go. I'm thinking of, I think it's in Colossians, the end of Colossians, where Paul's writing about this guy, Demas. And he was like, Demas was with us. He was in prison with me, but I'm done with Demas because he loved the world too much.
Oh, I remember.
And he goes into the world and he's like, nah, he was with us, but he left us for the world.
And that's when it says, like, if they left us, they were never with us or something like that.
I think that's where you get that in John. I think it's
okay.
in 1st and 2nd and 3rd John. That's where, just John's radical enough to say stuff like that. But yeah, Paul was just saying, like, you know, he's actually like giving credit to all these people. And then he goes, but by the way, there's this guy Demas. Don't be like him. He was with us, but then he loved the world too much, essentially is what he says. And so it's like, we've got to be careful because then there's another verse. This is actually John talking, radical John. This is 1 John 2:15-17. He says, do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, love of the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, these are these 3 very important keys: the lust of the flesh, which we've talked about, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. That's kind of the world in a sense right there, that last one. Comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires, that's such a key word right there, pass away. But whoever does the will of the Father lives forever. Okay. So,
dang. Which is crazy when you just think about just the first charge. Do not love the world or the things in the world. It's almost this sense of, in order for you to even start to follow Jesus, or if you start to follow Jesus, in order to continue this walk, one thing that you have to do, like dang near cold turkey, is to lose your love for things, to lose your love for like status, or to lose to not aspire to have those things that don't really do anything for you.
Right.
Like it's materialism at best. When you die, it's not going to help you whatsoever. And trying to just like wrap your mind around that when you've been, especially if you come to the Lord. Like, so for me, I was around church my whole life, and then went away, fell in love with the world. The world did me wrong, and I was like, all right, I'm gone.
Prodigal.
And I came back. But like for most people, if you've lived like 20, 30, 40 years in the world, that detachment is hard. Like I don't, what's his name? Demas.
Yeah.
I don't fault Demas. Like that's not an easy task. Like it's not, especially if you've attained so much. When I look at like, no shade to celebrities. When I look at celebrities, I'm like, if I had that, it would be hard for me.
That's why Jesus says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven, because I have so much of the world and what the world values.
Yeah.
I have status, I have wealth, I have money, I have possessions.
Yep.
I have fame.
I have authority.
I have authority.
Right.
And you're asking me to give this up and submit to this king that's going to be in control of me, of my life, and
my stuff.
And my stuff is no longer mine. I got to give it away and think about others instead of me.
Yeesh.
That's a lot to ask.
It is.
That's why the rich young ruler was like,
I'm not
big dog.
I'm
I ain't doing all this. Have you seen my house?
I got a yacht, big dog. What you want me to do with that? You said sell the yacht? Tell who? I'm not even gonna get market value for it. It's just crazy. Like, and then just like, if anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in them. Could you elaborate on that verse just real quick? What does that mean to you? Or
okay, so I want to actually clarify something real quick, because if you're not familiar with the Bible, you could hear this and be confused.
Mm-hmm.
So if I hear "do not love the world," but then I read John 3:16, it says, "For God so loved the world." So John Mark actually explains that early on, and he's like looking at the different uses of the Greek word for world, and sometimes it can apply to an actual group of people, which is what John 3:16 is about. God loves the people in the world, right? Not, and then the world that John's talking about here is the system of normalized giving into desires.
So that's good clarification,
stuff, right?
That's good.
So
clarification.
that is not okay.
Like, so the world as a people, human race, like the human beings. Yeah. This is what
we
God
need to have
loves.
love for them, because God has love for them. But as far as the systems which are created by people and their sin and their love for their desires and things like that, that we have to reject wholeheartedly.
So if we love that part.
Yeah, if we love the things that the world is promoting and loving. And there's a ruler of this world, which is the devil. True. It goes back to our first episode in the series, is that he is in charge. He is running this, because humans forfeited their rule to him. God it's still his. Yeah. But he had put us in charge of it, and we forfeited it. And he's like, well, I'm going to get it back. Don't worry. He just thinks he's in charge. I'm going to get it back. But because of that, the devil is kind of doing his thing, and he's kind of promoted the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. And so we have to definitely not love that.
Nah. And I like that, because 17 literally says, because it's passing away. Like it is worthless.
Yes,
like,
it's not, he lost. It's over.
The game is over.
Yes.
If you put your trust into these things, you will find out very soon that on the other side they can't help you. There's nothing for you on the other side. So
it's literally your will or the Father's will. It says in the last verse.
Yeah, you just got to be careful in those things. And honestly, like, I wish we would talk about this more often, especially in, like, we both work with youth, but especially in the lives of youth, because what's portrayed, even in like mega church, or even in pretty much all church circles, is like there's a portion of the world that you can, like, go after and love, but if it's disordered, then, like, you miss it. So, like, having a rap career, that's probably not the best thing in the world, but if you're gifted in that, go for it. But if that ever becomes, if you love that more than you love God, or more than you're seeking the will of God in your life, then that's a disorder, which is going to turn you into loving the world rather than, like, what God has for you.
Man, that is really crazy, because, like, I've been in churches where they value, like, pursuing an athletic career. Yeah. It's like, oh, my kids got this, they're doing this, and
more than coming to
way
church.
more than coming to church, and which, coming to church, I don't know about that either, but
yeah, I was about to
that's still valuable.
It's super valuable.
But, like, you gotta work hard in school, and you gotta, play these sports, and you got homework, and which all that stuff is important.
But the truth is, God comes last.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that God ends up getting the leftovers, and we don't even realize, like, how much is normalized, like how much has been normalized, that we are just like, well, this is how you're supposed to do it. My kids are supposed to be in 18 different activities
So they're so tired that when they come to youth group, they're asleep.
If they come at all.
Rather than listening to the thing that's bringing them real life.
If they come at all.
Whoo.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Like that is the world.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And it's weird because that is the world in the church. So that you can say, oh, I checked my church box off. Like I did that. Like my kids going to church. But if they don't find, if your kids aren't finding value in church, that's really not their fault. It's almost because like so for me, I value church today, mainly because my grandparents value church way too much. They went to church every day except for Thursdays. And I was like, this is insane. And then like my parents value church. So then like I in turn, even though I left, I knew the value of being in church. And I knew the value of God. So I came back. But for someone who's, if you're a parent and your kids don't see you valuing it, it's going to be more, it's going to be less likely that your kids are going to value it as they get older if they don't see you valuing it as an adult. They're just going to be like, oh, well, my parents went to church, but I'm not really about it because you don't understand the value of it.
Man, and I hear that all the time with like my students at work. Like, oh yeah, like we sometimes go, or my mom goes, or my grandma, my abuela goes, or whatever. But it's like, I haven't been in forever. I haven't been since I got my first baptism, or my first communion, or whatever.
Which is funny because I think a lot of parents think like, oh, we got that done.
Yeah,
but that's literally like back to the world. Like that's what they want you to do. Just
have this little tiny thing that's your faith or your whatever. But
that's it's weird how normal it is, and I think that's the part where it gets to me that this is in the 50s. I think everybody went to church.
We are going to talk about that.
Yeah,
that's going to be at the end. I was just thinking, my wife and I just finished watching this newest season of Love Is Blind on Netflix, which is such a good time. Such nonsense. But there's this girl on there, and she's
blind.
No.
Oh, I was like, bro, what are you watching?
No. The girl's a Christian. Oh. And one of the guys, if you don't know the premise of the show, I'm not going to go into it. But essentially, she was talking to this guy, and he was an atheist. And, he wants to be with her. And she's like, well, this is a big part of my life. He's like, he could not grasp why this was so important to her. He's like, why can't we make this work? You can have your little religion and it's fine. And she's like, no, this isn't just like a side thing, like a part of my life. This is a really foundational thing to my life. Wow. He was like, I don't understand. What do you mean? You can just go to your little church stuff whenever you want to. We can still be together. I don't get what's the point?
I'm getting rich young ruler vibes from this guy.
Like he couldn't grasp it being that important.
Shoot.
In fact, his mother was Catholic, and she was very into being Catholic, very serious about it. And so he grew up watching his mom do all this stuff and prayers and different activities and things like that. And again, he just saw it as it's just this thing that some people want to do, and that's cool, but I don't get why it's such a big deal for you. And she was like, look, it's not my religion. I have a relationship with God. And he was like, what? It just couldn't.
It was like, that's impossible.
I don't
Number one, there's no such thing. Even if there was, why would he have a relationship with you?
Yeah, he's just like, you're making such a big deal out of this. I don't understand.
That's crazy.
And it just showed you the world's, even if they're tolerant, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Religion,
do you. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Your God stuff. They cannot fathom it being everything, literally, it's the eyes that I use to see. I can't. There's not even enough metaphors and analogies to explain to you what it means to follow Jesus and believe all the stuff that we believe and live this. The world cannot grasp it because of what's been normalized in the world. And so, yeah,
and that is it's such because it's such a trap.
Yeah.
It's such a trap to be everything that matters to me is things that I can see. And then things that I've seen be good, be bad, be here, be gone. Like that is, in my mind, I'm like, that is a very, like it's been proven that when you die, nothing can go with you. It's been proven that nothing that no stat that you have is going to be yours when you pass. Like it's been proven.
Eventually you'll be forgotten.
Like,
eventually.
Dude, what was that show? Coco from, what's it called? Coco? The show, it was a movie by Disney.
Oh,
it was about this little
the
Mexican
movie
kid.
Coco. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
with the grandpa. About don't forget me.
Bro, the hardest thing to watch was when they were in the other world, and the dude was literally forgotten, and he like just disappeared.
Yeah.
That's like a hard thing to watch. But like when you think about your love for stuff, like that, and that's gonna disappear before you even die. Most people will tell you on their deathbed, they're never gonna tell you, "I wish I had more stuff."
If only I could have bought more things. There's literally, it's about to go to break. There's an Expedia commercial, and it's this one actor, Ewan McGregor, and he's like, "Do you think anyone's gonna be on their deathbed and say, I wish I would have bought more things?" Like he says that in the commercial, and it says these people like buying stuff, and he's like, and the point of it is like you should be more worried about experiences and traveling the world and stuff. But the point he makes, I'm like, even the world gets it. Like you really think you're gonna be on your deathbed? Like, man, I should have bought that Ferrari,
bro.
I should have bought this. I should have bought that. I should have bought that. I should have bought more clothes. Should have bought that pair of Jordans. Like it's not gonna matter.
Not matter at all.
None of your stuff is gonna matter.
Which is so funny. You said that the world even knows that. In John Mark Comer's other book, the ruthless elimination of hurry, he says, in most magazines you will see people not like being busy in the magazines. They're like chilling. They're like resting. They're like they're not in a hurry. But they portray that, but then tell you that
you need to be
in a hurry, that you need to be working heck hard.
Yeah.
When the world knows, like, this is what people really want.
Yes.
Rest is what you want.
Yes. Wow.
Not hurrying is what you want. But we're going to show you what that looks like and then make sure you can't obtain it. It's almost literally like putting a hamster on a wheel and like making it just run towards something, but it could never attain it. Bro, I was like, the world knows and it's trying to keep us blind. Like, sheesh. That's wild.
Okay, so yeah, we'll come back after our break and we will continue this conversation. I'm excited about this. Hey guys, what's up? This is an ad, so bear with us. Don't skip it. Guys, we have a Patreon. We've been talking about it for a long time. We would love some more of your support. Okay, if you get anything out of this podcast, any gems, any like good information, knowledge, you feel uplifted and encouraged, please think about supporting us on Patreon. Become one of our patrons, man. We want to expand this thing, make this even better than it is right now. We have, done a lot of renovations out of our own pocket. So guys, like, please think about becoming a patron.
Yeah, because your support goes a long way. It'll help us continue to upgrade our cameras, our computers, our everything that we do here. But we literally can't do it without you. So if you feel led to, please support us through this platform and continue to support us as we continue to grow and give you better content.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
See ya.
All right, we're back from the break. Y'all, Brandon and Joe's got to eat.
It was fantastic. The best corn dog I have ever had in my life. And that's only because I was more hungry than I've ever been in my life.
Hunger's the best seasoning, I'll always say.
Like, my stomach was growling, and I was there like, dude, I'm sure you can hear this on the
I couldn't hear it, but if you guys hear the first half of this, Brandon's stomach growling.
I'm like, what is that cat?
Okay, so continuing our conversation on the world.
Yeah.
So just some examples of how sin has been normalized in our society. So the beginning of that section of the book, he starts.
A great way to start it.
I was like, where is he going?
I was like stuck for a second.
Yeah, it was dope. So I was just like, I am not seeing it. Like, what is going on here? So he starts telling the story of Napster and Metallica. Those are two very old things.
It's actually crazy to be like, dang, that was what.
I remember that whole thing. I was in elementary school. And I remember I don't understand what's
going on.
About, but okay.
MTV was in a uproar.
Yeah, I was like, guys, my parents let me listen to this kind of music, so no idea what's going on. But so essentially, he talks about how, you know, we had normalized, and we still have normalized, like stealing.
Yes.
Like stealing is normalized in our society. You might be like, wait, how?
Stealing is okay.
Stealing is actually okay in our society. You know, if you were born, you know, in 89 or you know, earlier, you probably remember the 2000s using LimeWire and
Napster.
I can't say I've used it. I heard about people.
Yeah, right.
A friend of mine. No,
if you were a teenager in like
Definitely.
2008 to 2006, 2008, you
Even
definitely
before that, bro. I'm telling you,
That's
like, I'm
true.
talking like 2000s. You know, 2004. I remember like my dad bought me and my brother our first MP3 players. There were some.
I totally forgot about MP3 players.
You could load some songs on there, bro. I remember like I would run home.
You'd have like 1,000 songs.
Fam, I would run home, go on our desktop computer, which is our parents' really computer, but we would use it when they weren't home, and go on LimeWire. My dad hadn't started using it. Sorry, I'm exposing my dad here. He doesn't use it anymore, guys. But
they shut it down.
They did. Okay, praise God. But but go on there and you know, look for a song. You had to listen to it because people would put all kind of nonsense.
Oh my God! Or they always had to like hey, where did you find this?
Yeah. Hey, where'd you find this?
Oh, let's go.
Ghettobeats.com. Like just all kind of random stuff on there. Or it'd be like the same beat, but some random dudes rapping on it.
Oh.
Like, man, this ain't the original version.
And they just literally played it like it was their own.
Yeah.
Stealing.
And so then you download all the songs. And I would make them in red. I don't know if you know about that. But then like they couldn't be shared or whatever. Other people couldn't get your song. There was this whole setting.
Way.
I would always do that. I'm like, it wouldn't feel as bad. Like, they can't take it from me, God. You know, I'm taking it from other people. But just getting free copyrighted music illegally was normal in our society. Like everybody did it. We didn't pay for music. And I think that led to the rise of Spotify and Apple Music and streaming. Because they're like, look, we got to find a way to get... People ain't buying CDs.
They not.
got to find a way. So...
Because it took a lot.
Yeah.
It took a lot.
I mean, but like we literally had a society, and we have a society where it's like, you know, bootleg movies.
Bootleg movies were huge.
You know, they were massive.
Oh
now
my
we got
God.
HBO Max in that crib. But before, somebody be in the theater recording that mug, and like you go, you know somebody.
But we had a friend who worked at the movie theater who would literally would like copy the DVD. So like the movie theater would get DVD and they play it through a projector. He would just take that, put it on his laptop, and then like create the actual movie. So like he was like the bootleg
He was
king.
the plug.
And he worked at the Madera movie theater, number one.
Yikes.
Probably making like $7 an hour, if that. And was probably making like...
He was making more than the managers.
Bro.
They was like, wait, how you drive up in this car?
Showing up in a Bentley. Like,
They was like, wait a minute.
You can't afford
just
this.
Clean the...
It was funny because now you think about it, it was almost like drug dealing how much money
Yo,
you made
like,
in bootlegs.
Yeah, turf wars and stuff. Like, hey, man, I got
For
this
real,
block.
though, yeah, because I remember my mom started buying from somebody else because the movie that she was looking for. And, like, she was hot. She was like, or he was hot. He was like, really? You just going to find somebody else? Like, this is my livelihood. And I'm like, but now it's like, you're stealing, bro. How's this? You stealing and then getting mad at somebody from stealing from you.
Man,
that's crazy.
And then there's been, and I think he also talked about this, but there's been a couple instances where people don't like snitching.
Yep.
And I mean, think about this.
I don't snitch either, just so you know. It's not what I
Think
do.
about this, okay? People get more upset with the snitcher than the person that is doing wrong. And the snitcher is exposing. Like, we are more upset.
It happens in culture all the time.
I mean, the whole...
Whistleblowers.
Yes, the whistleblowers. The whole D'Angelo Russell and Nick Young and Iggy Azalea. People were more upset at D'Angelo Russell for exposing Nick Young than for Nick Young cheating on his fiance. And I was like, what?
Bro, That is the social norm.
Like even more recently, I don't know if you heard about the whole Gavi thing.
Yeah.
With Wordsplay's wife, like exposed him on Twitter.
Yeah.
People were more upset with her. Why are you saying this? Why are you exposing this? Why are you saying it this way? Why are you cussing? The man is cheating on his wife, and you're over here mad at her for helping her friend. Who's, like, what is going on in our society where we would rather you not say anything than expose wrongdoing?
Yeah, it's weird, man. Because I think the evil portion, the whole thing is evil. But even for us individually, it's like, well, I wouldn't want nobody to snitch on me, so I'm not gonna snitch on somebody else. Which the crazy thing is, there's freedom in the snitching. Like it literally will bring you out of the darkness so that you're gonna live in the light. But for some, but you love the darkness. That's just the truth. Like facts. Being in the world is like living in the dark. Yeah. And anytime someone turns a light on, it hurts. It's like, oh God, dog.
Yeah, John Mark Comer says this. He says, judging your friends for burning CDs was seen as wrong, but stealing was seen as just fine. Right and wrong have been redefined along the lines of popular opinion.
Yeah. If everybody's doing it, it's okay.
Everybody says it's cool, then it's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
which is crazy because even now, like, just being able to like have sex all willy nilly, like it's just like a fun thing to do.
You said willy nilly. You sound hella old right there.
I just thought about my
just out here, just shacking up.
But it's normalized.
But I feel you.
Like,
yes, I'm even thinking.
There's so many people who don't even care to get married because like we're
already been together, got 3 kids that are teenagers, been together for 20 years, not married. Yes, absolutely. I'm even thinking about like what is on TV.
God,
like what we watch all the time on Netflix, on whatever.
Bro, you remember when like you couldn't say cuss words on TV? You couldn't like saying like the A word or the D, like it really didn't matter. I mean, even hell was one of those like, words. Whoa,
hey, whoa, listen.
What are you watching?
Like, I mean, I heard that's BS, and they said that. I was like, this is CBS.
Like, come, bro. And I remember
when NBC?
I remember when it first started to change a little bit, and it was like more and more lenient, and then like you literally get a whole movie that they didn't bleep out anything. Like when movies would play on TV, they would bleep out the cuss words.
Yes, or they would do the overdub. Yeah, it'd be like that's bull poop. Like it'd be totally somebody else's voice. Yeah, man.
They don't say it at all.
I was like, hey, listen.
They don't do it.
And then they would like, after a certain time, they would get a little bit more like they'd say stuff. Now they're like, it's 4:00
in the afternoon.
My kids could be home.
They don't
and you
care.
Over here just saying all this stuff.
It is normalized in society. And it's funny because like when we think about like stealing is just like morally wrong. I think,
and it's been more. And he says in the book, it's been a taboo. So sociologists have decided it's been a taboo in every culture. Stealing is not cool. I think humans are like, that's mine. Don't take it.
Exactly,
it's a universal thing.
But for whatever reason, even things that are like morally, like okay, there's no law against this. So there's no law of there's no law against having sex with a bunch of partners. Like in our society, there's no law against that.
That's true.
The law of God, yes, but there's no law against it.
No, facts.
But the truth is that we've seen the effects of it, the destructiveness of it, and it's like this is not working. But yet we don't condemn when people are doing it.
I mean, we've normalized addiction in every form.
Dude,
that's why we can just have some kind of rehab for people that need this. But like, let's push this. Casino commercials always on TV all the time.
Like gambling is now legal.
Is everywhere. Yes.
Like when I found out, think about that, bro. When I found out that gambling was legal everywhere in the United States from a NFL commercial. I didn't even know it had happened. Like I just like it was like I think it was like Terry Bradshaw was like, well, now that it's legal to gamble anywhere in America. I was like,
Terry,
sir,
fact check,
sir, is this true? And the thing that like really blew my mind was like he was pronouncing that with pride. Like he was like, yes, you can definitely get into this. Let's all sin together. And you're just like, where do we just like got rid of the line? Like there's John Mark Comer in the book talks about like pushing the line back further and further. But in some instances, we just erased that. Just be like,
ain't no line.
Ain't no line. Go as far as you want to with this, even if it's detrimental to your soul. Number
even
one,
though it's not. It's clearly not working. Like it is so obviously not working. But like, I don't know. Maybe we think like, let's just keep going, and then eventually it'll work.
But when you think about gambling, that's exactly how you think.
The next one I'm gonna hit.
I'm gonna get it on the next one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it on the next one. Next thing you know, your family is literally homeless, and then you get $1,000. Way to go!
Ooh, told you.
That's
Jackpot.
what you needed. But that's what the world does. It literally blinds you to the truth, and it doesn't want you to see it otherwise, or wants anyone to expose it, because then it loses its power. The world has no more power once the light is on. So that's when Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and life, and the truth shall set you free. When you think about the truth setting you free, it is literally the light being turned on. And if you leave it on, you will always see the coming of any distraction or any sin, anything that's like going against God. You'll see it. But as long as the light is off, you'll never see it coming. You're just going to fall to it like everybody else.
Yeah, wild, man. And so, just furthering along this normalized sin in our society. And like, even it's so crazy. Like, it's so normal to me that I don't even feel comfortable saying the word sin. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to find another way to like communicate it to people, because they're like, sin? What?
I think most people think sin is something like murder or...
Oh, you must go to church.
Yeah, like it's like a Christian word to say sin.
Yeah, it's like we don't want to talk about it. It's like, well, I mean, judging and looking down on people and all that stuff, like, and it's so crazy because I agree to an extent. Like, I shouldn't be out here judging people. I feel like that's like our highest virtue right now in our society, is to not judge. And I mean, the Bible says like you're not supposed to judge, especially non-believers. Right.
That's not our job to judge the world.
Yeah. I mean, I was even...
At least not right now.
Yeah. Well, Jesus, I'm going to let him handle that one. But, I feel like that... I was explaining to the high school kids this morning, like, we're reading Galatians 6, and it was like, bear one of those burdens. If you catch someone in wrongdoing, like, restore them with the spirit of gentleness. And I told them, like, so right off the bat, like, there is, in a sense, a judgment that you are making. You are, hey, what this person is doing is not right. Yeah. That is a judgment in and of itself, right? And so, like, how do we, like, go about, correcting that without being judgmental?
I think that's the gentle part.
Yeah, and it's and patient wanted to focus on like the word restore them, right? Because that means that they were at a certain level, they've gone down. I've got to bring you back to where you should be.
Correct.
And he used the example of like when you watch these like home improvement shows, and like they buy these houses that are just disgusting, and they like make them better than they were. And that's an eye of restoring. Or like you have an old car and you restore it, and it's better than it was, right? And so that's what we are called to do. And then the spirit of gentleness is, and it even says at the end, it's like, but be careful that you don't be tempted.
Yeah.
And it's like
don't go down there and then be like, oh, that's nice.
I see what you're doing. Okay. This darkness kind of nice over here. But
can't nobody see us?
Yeah. But I was like explaining to the kids like that line, the reason why Paul included that is it helps us never to become self-righteous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or because like whatever this person is given into is in me too.
Yeah.
Like I could easily
fall into that trap. I can easily.
So I have to try to help them and correct them and restore them gently, but recognizing that like I'm not better than them.
Correct.
And so like I bring all that up because it's like I'm even trying to find a way to explain to them like from like the world standard. Of like, okay, well, we can't be judgy. We can't be judging people. Like, but it is kind of judging. And it's like, how do we get around? And it's like, I'm even like, find myself like trying to like edit myself to sound more appealing to the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm constantly like, okay, well, I don't want to offend. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Like, which I think there's value in that. But at the same time, I feel like,
sometimes it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Because I would say this, like, well, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
For anyone who is a friend, anyone who I have a genuine relationship with, you know my heart. They know your heart. Like that in that arena, I think you should have the ability to be like, okay, I'm just gonna be real with you, bro. Like what you're doing, this ain't right. This ain't good. It's not helping no one. Like get it together. Like literally get it together. So I like come back to where you're supposed to be. In that sense, yes. If you're talking to someone who you don't have that great of a relationship with, then choose your words.
That's it.
Like because what you say, and I think I don't remember when I said this, but I was talking to someone and I was like, one thing we don't realize is that when someone's in like a very dark place or a very hurtful place or a very traumatic spot, what you say in that moment may stick with them for the rest of their lives. For you, it's just words. You're just trying to help, trying to do whatever. But in a few weeks, a few days, you're going to forget what you said. They may never forget. So please, if you're talking to someone you don't have a relationship with, be as gentle as possible so that they can, so that they won't heal the wrong way. They'll actually like heal the right way so they can like grow in the Lord rather than like resent him for the words that you spoke.
That's good, man.
You know.
Yeah. So kind of along those lines, I have this note in here from page 213 in my book about like how does the church like operate in the world? Like how do we work in the world but not be of the world, right? And so,
question.
So JMC kind of outlines this. He gets this from this theologian, Dr. Larry Hurtado. He's a historian of early Christianity, and he wrote this book called The Destroyer of the Gods, and he basically talks about like how this tiny little group of Jewish and non-Jewish followers of this guy named Jesus, like basically took over the Roman Empire, essentially. Like when you think about it, it's really crazy. But this little tiny group of people,
right,
and this one distinct Jewish sect of belief went on to like overthrow the paganism of the Roman Empire.
That's true.
Right? So, and so he says like these are their characteristics that they had. This is the thesis. He says, his thesis was that it wasn't the church's relevance or relatability to the culture, but its difference and distinctness that made it compelling to so many. So they weren't trying to be super relevant or super relatable. They were actually trying to be different and distinct. They were trying to be holy. They're trying to be set apart, right? And so I feel like we have this tendency, and I'm going to read a few more of this, but we have this tendency to try to figure out what the world is doing and what the world is saying and like make a Christian version of it. And
like we've done the Marcel episode.
Yeah.
And they were like taking movies and like turning them into sermons.
Yeah, and it's like there's always those jokes like, you know, when some popular movie or something comes out and the pastor preaches on it or whatever.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah. And you know, there was a way home and his name was like and we constantly are reacting to the culture, trying to be relatable, trying to be relevant, which I think there's some value in both of those, but I don't think if that's our primary like mode of operation, I don't think we're gonna do very well. We're just gonna end up becoming the world.
Yeah, you then have a whole church full of like lukewarm Christians, like people who are trying to tiptoe or like toe the line, so to speak, with their relationship with God.
Yeah, you have. That's a very good way to put it. You have a bunch of either casual, you know, we're just here to hang out with Jesus.
Yeah.
Or you have a bunch. It just looks like it just becomes of the world instead of being in the world but not of it. And the church loses its voice. This really, you know, one of the things that discouraged me about, you know, when we first got to I don't want to go there actually. Trying to find the way to say it. Trying to tip through. But I just feel like, well, I'll say this. I feel like there's this tendency with youth ministry, and you can speak to this more than I can because you're, you know, full-time youth ministry. But there's this tendency to we want it to be appealing to kids, and so it's like we got to try to be as fun as the world is. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like you're never gonna out fun
the world.
The world is always gonna be more fun.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to become more. You have to become different.
Yeah.
So your fun has to. You have to teach students how fun is. How different fun is still fun. So yes, it looks different. Yes, it's like outside of your comfort zone, what you're used to. But like this will become fun for you soon.
Yeah, and I would say like there's one thing that we can offer that the world doesn't offer, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
We have this person, we have this thing that everyone is looking for, which is to be fully known and accepted and loved. We are the world cannot give that to you. They can give you distorted versions of it, but the one thing that we have that the world doesn't have,
It's truth.
we are not emphasizing.
Yeah.
We're trying to do what the world is doing, which the world's already doing. It's already offering that. They can get that
anywhere.
I can get fun anywhere, especially more fun than what's in the church.
Yeah.
If I'm a kid. But what they can't get is what we should be giving, what we should be focusing on. And so I that always kind of, that's frustrating me anywhere I've been, in fact, with any youth ministry I've been a part of. It's just like, there's such a heavy emphasis on like, let's have a good time and let's, do all this stuff. And it's like teaching kids the truth and helping them get a relationship with Jesus is like kind of lower down on the list.
Yeah, it's like secondary.
Well,
yeah. So even in my own experience, and this is something that my wife and I, as the youth director at our church, it is difficult because if you don't have like an appeal, if you don't appeal to students, you're not going to get anyone to come. Like that's just, no one's going to, unless their parents are dragging them to church, and then those are the kids who don't want to be there. But in order to create like genuine students who like want to be there, which we just got to the point where students will come without other students. So we had one student who like pretty much promoted us at every event that she went to, and that's what like really got people to come. But then they would only come if she came to church. If she wasn't there, and then, which is weird, they have a group chat and they'll be like, hey, are you going to church? If she said no, it was a wrap. And then Justin and I didn't know how to tell her, like, hey, if they ask you that question, like text them separately that you're not showing up so they can still come to church. But we never had that conversation. But just yesterday, she didn't show up to church, but like half of the people she's invited, they came. And it was really cool to see them. Like, man, so I literally just text all the people, or most people who came, like, yeah, I appreciate you stepping in here, like, even though like not everybody was here. And I'm pretty sure they knew what I was talking about when I said not everybody was here. But the thing is, like, we had to have an appeal in the beginning for them to come, which we were fun, and we're young, and we try to be hip,
be relevant.
Yeah, trying to have drip and whatnot, and doing so, like, we made connections in that way, but it just it's not sustaining. You can't keep that going on forever.
Yeah.
You have to eventually tell them the truth.
Yeah, you got to get some substance.
Yeah, because then they'll be like, okay, this is cool, but it's not really doing anything for me. And I think most students, they get to the point in life when they're like, why am I here again? Yeah. Like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, it was fun, but like, there's more fun out there. There's different fun out there. Like, I can go find something else. And now we're to the point, and we're just about to start this leadership team in our youth group, which is the first time ever we've had a leadership team. And I'm so geeked about it because I get to take the students who are showing leadership qualities and like be even more truthful with them than I am with the rest of the flock. Like, I'll get to be like real with them. Like, look, y'all want to take y'all life to the next level? Join the leadership team. But I want you to understand, this ain't no like, oh, we're just gonna have fun all the time. Yeah, we're gonna do fun stuff, but even the fun stuff we do is gonna be super hard. So yeah, we'll get an Airbnb by the beach, and it's gonna be dope. But the lessons that we're gonna have there are gonna be hard, and it's gonna take a lot of work. And we're probably gonna be doing actual work. Well, they will, because we got people who are gonna like work them out and stuff, like physical work, and then have an application afterward. I'm not doing none of that stuff, but but they will be doing it. And I'm like, I don't want you to say yes to this. And I think this is something that we got to tell many people who are seeking to be followers of Jesus, because Jesus was truthful from the jump. He was like, if you follow me, you got to carry your cross. You got to understand that this is not like, oh, we're just going to be, you're not just strolling with me.
Nah, man.
Nah, we walking, and it's going to be hard.
And I think, like, I was just thinking about this as you were talking, like, all the fun stuff, like, we're just sowing into their flesh. Yeah. And that can't be satisfied.
Not at all.
And so eventually they're going to be like,
it becomes real empty.
I need something more. This is not enough.
Absolutely. If they don't see the change in their own lives, because even like yesterday was like the first time. Well, this is what my wife told me, but she was like, "This is the first time you've like preached in a long time." Because a lot of times we were more doing like question and answers. Mm-hmm. So we present a topic and then conversate about it. So it was just conversation. But like yesterday, it was like valuable. Yeah, it was definitely valuable. But yesterday it was like, I had this on my heart, and I need to say this, and I don't really want anybody to talk. Like I don't want anybody to say anything. If you want to talk afterwards, that's totally fine. But like, let me finish this out. And we talked about distractions. And afterwards, like 4 or 5 students, literally like 2 students reached out to me and 3 students reached out to my wife about the lesson. They were like, "Yo, like, how do I do this then? Like, I heard what he said, but how do I do this, or how do I accomplish that?" And I think that's the substance. When they start asking those questions, now they're there because they want to grow. They're no longer there because they want to have fun, but they really want to get closer to Jesus.
Yeah, man.
Cruise.
I love that.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
So juiced about it.
So some of the ways that the church, the early church, was different, was distinct. There were five distinct features of the church. And he would argue, not me, he would argue that there is no church that's doing all 5. We usually emphasize a few of them. Mm-hmm. Number 1, the church was multiracial and multi-ethnic with a high value for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
That's all one? Mm-hmm. Okay, of course. I'm like, some of us ain't doing all of one.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Number 2, the church was spread across socioeconomic lines as well, and there was a high value for caring for the poor. Those with extra were expected to share with those with less. Mm-hmm. Number 3, it was staunch in its active resistance of infanticide and abortion.
Wait, what? I don't understand.
It was against. It was actively resisting infanticide, killing babies who were born, and then abortion, killing unborn babies.
Oh, wow.
Which was a thing in the Roman Empire.
That's really crazy to think about that. It's a legit thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, your child was born with a disability. Yeah, kill it.
Kill him.
I don't want it.
Yeah. Number 4, it was resolute in its vision of marriage and sexuality as between one man and one woman for life. This is in the early church, guys. This isn't like now. It was nonviolent, both on a personal level and a political level. Right. Now, this is what he says. I'm not talking, this is John Mark Coleman. Now, if you plot those 5 features onto a map of modern American politics, the first 2 sound like liberal positions as they're dealing with race and class. The second 2 sound like conservative positions. The last one doesn't jibe with either because it's the nonviolent one.
That is the craziest. Like, just seeing that is like. But I remember we had a conversation about this on a previous episode about like churches doing like
politics.
Yeah, the politics one. It's like your conservative churches are really heavy on this, and then your liberal churches are really heavy on this. And we even said then that if you had a church that did all 4 of those, but the 5th one wasn't even a conversation, but if they did all 4 of the first 4, you would have a holistic church, and your church would probably have heck of power.
Man, but yeah, I mean,
but how?
Mm-hmm.
How do you even get? Because it's when you think about marriage and sexuality, and then you think about multicultural
and multi-socioeconomic as well.
That becomes very difficult because now it's like, oh well, what about people who are different? What about people who like they're diverse in this way? Like, what do you do with that? And I think it's just a conversation that most churches don't even want to have, or most churches, most Christians don't want to have this conversation with people.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the point of that is to be like, how do we do this? And to never stop asking that question, right? But I think a lot of us, we pick 1 or 2 of those 5, and we just emphasize those because they're either the easiest thing for our church to do because our church is either automatically based on where it is located, it's multi-ethnic, right, which that makes it easy.
Yeah.
That's kind of the advantage that TG has. Like, we're just naturally multi-ethnic, so that's not hard for us to. Oh, yeah, we got that.
Right.
But then there's other ones maybe multi-generational might be hard. We're just young, we're just old. Like, it's hard to get a mix of both.
Yeah.
It's hard to, emphasize certain things that would be very conservative.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you get young
People
of color, they're like, nah, bro, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to do all of those and really emphasize all five, like the early church did.
Yeah, because even it's weird looking at. I mean, I feel like I'm associated with, or I am associated with like at least 3 churches, and when I look at, they're all 3 are very different. Mm-hmm. So it's like one of them is definitely 1 and 2, the other one is definitely 3 and 4, and then like as for like TG, like it's somewhere in the middle, but it's so young that it's gonna have to make a stand somewhere, and like it's like, where would we fall in this conversation? And it's weird because I think being a church in the world, but not of it, it's going to cause, if you're doing it right, you're going to enforce all 5.
Yes, and that's gonna make you different from the culture. And that's what the early church did, and that's why it grew, and that's what it appealed to people in the Roman Empire. They were just like, this is like nothing I see. I can't go anywhere else to get this. Right. And I got to check this out. Even if I disagree with it, I don't. How are you guys all together?
Yeah.
How are you guys provide? Like, that's the thing. We just don't get the otherness. That's what I was talking about in my sermon. It's like, we've got to be inclusive, which is one of the things. But we've also got to be set apart, the Holy Assembly.
It's weird.
How do you do both? We have to constantly be trying to fight to do both.
I have a ton of questions, but it'd be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. And I think we're going to need, because we're already over time. And the last point I really actually wanted to talk about, so we have to do another one of these. It's about the phases of Christian culture, of culture that we're in. On page 223, where there was pre-Christian culture, Christianized culture, and post-Christian culture. So we're definitely gonna have to come back,
and
do this.
Post-Christian culture.
Yeah, I'm excited. We'll definitely do a whole episode just on that.
Yeah.
So I will make sure.
Make a note of that, man.
Yeah, let me make a note of this.
We can get it in, because even like I definitely want to, like, some of the questions that I'm having even from this list, is like when you think about. And this is like the last thing we're going to say. We're going to just turn the mic off real quick and then run. But when you think about a church that works with inclusion, and then you think about a church that is also about as resolute in its vision of marriage and sexuality between one man and one woman, how do you include? Because I've read a book called Messy Grace, which in that one the author is a pastor. Can't remember what his name is. But he is fantastic at inclusion. So a lot of his church is literally from the LGBTQ community, and yet they stand firm on they're very resolute on what they believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. But yet people who are in the LGBT community still come to the church. They feel a part of the church. And he doesn't. I don't know how he does it. I want to ask him, how do you do?
I think I said this before. You can say a hard truth. You can say something that's controversial. You can say these things that are hard to hear, if you are full of compassion and you demonstrate it. And you like say that. Jesus did that all the time. Like you could not question his heart for people. And I think if people can question our heart, then they hear us say stuff. They're like, no, I'm not hearing that. I'm not trying to hear that. Versus like you say this stuff that's like triggering. It hurts. I'm like, wait, what?
But you know me.
But it's like, but dang, I can't question.
Like you didn't say that to hurt me.
No, it's the word sharper than any two-edged sword, and it pierces. And it's like I'm feeling convicted, but you've shown so much compassion and love and care. I can't say that you hate me.
Right.
So like I'm intrigued. It's just that's what it is. It's got to be that, and I don't know how to do that, but we got to fight to do it. Yeah.
I'm willing to discuss it and willing to put it into practice.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. So we'll definitely do a part 4 of the series. This is not the last part, but we have covered all 3 main parts of the book. If you still have not gotten the book and you still haven't read it, you need to.
Please.
Okay.
Please, y'all.
Yeah.
Get this thing.
Yeah,
man.
because again, we're not even going that deep into it.
bro. There's literally times we could spend a whole podcast
we
on
could
one page.
make just I mean, we could just do the rest of our podcast on this book. But yeah, and stay tuned. We got some cooking in the works.
Yeah.
With some friends of ours.
Oh.
Hopefully we can make this happen, but it looks like it's gonna happen.
I think it's gonna happen, man.
Yeah, so just stay tuned for that.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Keep your eyes. Like, but you guys enjoy your week.